you could accept the fact that the city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion. What do you mean it's biblical? What do you mean it's Old Testament? Yeah, real wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies, rivers and seas boiling, 40 years of dark volcanoes, great human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. That was terrible.
Well, there it is. Another cultural landmark officially is checked out. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness himself, has left the building. Probably wandered out confused, mumbling something about bats and reality TV before heading towards that great big gig in the sky. Or hell, maybe just a really loud after party where Keith Moon's been saving him a seat since 1978. But let's take a moment here. Ozzy Osbourne, a man whose entire career and frankly existence was one giant middle finger to polite society, conventional medicine, and yes, of course, brain cells. The same man who somehow survived a childhood in Birmingham, the music industry, Sharon, his wife, decades of drugs that would kill a lesser man instantly, and a pandemic, only to finally cash out today. But you have to admire the irony. Ozzy spent 50 years defying every medical journal on earth and half the laws of physics. But even he couldn't outrun that big final curtain call. And no, for the record, he did not bite the head off of this one. Death bit him first. But let's review the highlights, shall we? Black Sabbath, arguably the birth of heavy metal, depending on which tattooed guy in a denim vest you might ask. So weird I'm doing to make sure Ozzy didn't just do sing-alongs. He howled them about war pigs, fairies wearing boots, and paranoid delusions that honestly aged pretty well considering where society ended up. Then there was the solo career. Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, songs that became anthems for generations of misunderstood teenagers and future accountants who still crank it up in their Honda Civics when nobody's looking. Ozzy was chaos bottled, electrified, and broadcast at full volume. But wait, hold on. Let's not forget the reality show, The Osbournes. Even proof that even Satan's house has laundry, dogs, and endless shouting matches over sandwiches. You need a reminder that fame doesn't make you immune to domestic nonsense. Ozzy stumbling around his Beverly Hills mansion, muddy, Sharon, where's the remote? I mean, that was it, right? The man went from snorting ants with Motley Crue to struggling with the concept of a universal remote control. He was himself a paradox wrapped in leather. On stage, though, he was a god, having his last performance just several weeks ago. Off stage, he was just a confused British grandpa in track pants. 1 minute commanding arenas, the next lost in his own kitchen. And through it all, the man somehow became lovable. I mean, go figure, right? The guy who introduced satanic panic to suburbia turned out to just want a cup of tea and a quiet life. But let's not get too sentimental. I mean, this is Ozzy we're talking about, right? He wouldn't want a tearful goodbye. He would want fireworks. He would want pyro. A wall full of amps turned up to 11. And he'd want people arguing over whether technical ecstasy was underrated and somehow in the back shouting, "Play the classics, you get." I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ozzy was also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not just once, but twice. So here's to Ozzy, a man who lived a louder, longer, and messier than anyone had the right to. A man who proved you don't have to be coherent to be iconic. A man who gave the world Sabbath, solo albums, TV meltdowns, and more quotable moments than most rock stars can dream of. He's gone now. Off to join Lemmy, Dio, and possibly confusing the hell out of St. Peter at the gates all at the same time. But wherever he is, you can bet it's louder now. Rest in peace, Ozzy. Or don't. Knowing you, you'll raise hell wherever you land. That's Ozzy Osbourne, who passed away today, shortly after his last concert several weeks ago. Broadcasting live deep from an underground military bunker or a spaceship high above the plane of Earth, from the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman, and this is Sam-The-Vote-A-Thon. That's right, day number 7 as we continue our march to broadcast history. And of course, you can be a part of that broadcast history by doing something very simple, something that won't cost you a dime, something that you could tell all of your friends to do as well. And that's text that little number right down there that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Text 127 to 804-430-5505. That's 127 to 804-430-5505. You want to do that every single day between now and August the 3rd. And once again, you will be able to participate in broadcast history as we make our way to possibly become the best morning radio show, brought to you by the Richmond Times-Dispatch, the newspaper of record here in Central Virginia. 2 years ago, we were 3rd place and we're dismissed. Last year, we were 2nd place, knocking off a big-time syndicated radio show that this year didn't even make the top 5. You know what that means. That just tells you that once you get beaten by a puppet, that there is no coming back. Especially an award-winning, a real award-winning media puppet such as myself. But here we are now with this 3rd year, hoping that we are able to finally cross the threshold and become that best local morning radio show. Something that no one said that we could do. Something that the corporate executives have sat there and said, oh, you're just a puppet. People that just said, oh, it's just a gimmick. wanting to sit there and say that I was a gimmick. Hell, I've been doing this since Roswell. And you want to sit there and say that I'm just a gimmick. I guess the real gimmick are the radio shows that are no longer in the top 5. The syndicated shows that no longer have a seat at the table. The syndicated shows that are in multiple areas around the country that, yes, were kicked out because of little old me. My little puppet self, and the radio show that I have every single Saturday morning. You're asking, well, Sam, how do I listen to this radio show? Make sure you go to WDCE.org or WDCE.net. You can also download the Live 365 app and search WDCE, and you'll be able to listen to the show. We start at around 9:30 on Saturday morning, play cartoon themes, video game themes, sitcom themes, movie themes, all kinds of themes. And in the process, I give you my commentary on pop culture and also the news of the day. Been doing this for 7 years now. So, but I want to give a shout out to some people here in the chat already. I see DFS is here. I see Kinzo's Creation. I see Laser Pants. Laser Pants says, Sam, I have a question for you. May I ask it? Sure, go ahead, sir. That'll be great. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X at Sam Newsman, and also streaming on Exertus' channels as well. Tip of the cap to Exertus. I see about 27 people currently who are watching across all of those social media feeds. So if you don't mind, just go ahead and let everybody know we will be here for the next couple of moments. Well, I mean, I say couple of moments. We'll be here probably till about 11 o'clock. But make sure what you need to do is you need to go to that phone number right there, 804-430-5505. That's 804-430-5505. You want to text 127, and you want to use every single cell phone in your house. So if you have kids that have cell phones, tell them to use it. If you have people at your work, tell them they can use it. Make sure you tell them, hey, listen, do you want to hack the planet? Do you want to see a real media puppet win this radio award? Do you want to have a place in broadcast history? Well, the answer is, of course, yes. So what you need to do is text that number 127 to 804-430-5505 and do that every single day between now and August the 3rd. And I guess as we wait on Laser Pants' question, which we will get to, I guess, when he does ask it, there's another way you can vote as well. Go to the website, go.richmond.com/thebest. Go.richmond.com/thebest. When you go down there, you can go scroll down to entertainment. Click on entertainment. It says that I just caught that, Laser Pants. I see what you did there. Sam, I have a question for you. May I ask it? And then I didn't catch it. Very, very sharp. I see you. He said that I asked it. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That's tip of the cap. Tip of the cap. Shout out to Auntie Queenie as well. I see her in the chat too. But yes, go.richmond.com/thebest. Scroll down to entertainment. Then you're going to scroll down to best local morning radio show. You're going to click on that, and you're going to click on Sam Newsman. Oh, look, there I am. I'm like right there first this time. It changes every single day. But you want to click on, we want to click on Sam Newsman, WDCE. Getting ahead of myself. Little Freudian slip there. Possibly of the future of where you'll be seeing me. Laserpants says, we all just voted. Well, thank you for your votes. Tell everybody that, hey, guess what? We were just participating in broadcast history. The question is have you participated in broadcast history? Over 30 people now watching. Text 127 to 804-430-5505 or go to this website. You can go to this website with every email that you got as well, you know? What you can do is you can vote once with your email, once with your cell phone. And then, of course, you know, your drug dealer friends, you know, they have a bunch of cell phones. They're called burner phones, if you're not aware. Tell them to take all their burner phones and to text that number to them as well. But that'll help us as we continue our march, like I said, to broadcast history. Now, it's interesting. Last night, I told you that we would start with something different. Something very different than what we have been using or been starting off with every single night. Now, of course, you guys know, you know, as we've been going through this this here little program, every single night we've started off with a particular article that we won't get into tonight just yet. I'm not saying that we won't, because you know that we will. But I remember remember old Bondi the Clown? Bondi the Clown sat there and said, hey, listen, I have the Epstein files on my desk, and what else do I have? Well, she said that she had the Martin Luther King files on her desk as well, which is where we plan to start out tonight. And that's with the President Donald Trump's administration releasing a trove of records on the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., including FBI surveillance files on the civil rights leader. A court-imposed order had kept the documents, totaling about 230,000 pages, blocked from public view since 1977. Prominent members of King's family had opposed the release. A statement from his two living children condemned any attempts to misuse these documents in ways intended to undermine our father's legacy. Father's legacy? Wait a minute. I thought you said, I have a dream. I have a dream, right? Shout out to Casual. See Casual in the chat. Also, shout out to Skydro Walker. Make sure you use the code SKYDRO, that's SKYDRO, at extremesets.com. Your photographs might not look as good as Skydro Walker on Instagram, but you could at least save 15% while trying. And I'll get back to Skydro a little bit later on in the show. Divulgence says, seems odd that a family is against the release of the files. I think we already know all the bad stuff about him already. Now, we have Martin Luther King, the country's most famous civil rights activist, who was shot in Memphis on April the 4th in 1968 at the age of 39. James Earl Ray, a career criminal, pleaded guilty to the killing, but later renounced his plea. Trump's critics notice the release comes as the administration is accused of a lack of transparency over the files relating to the influential sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, whose 2019 jail death was ruled a suicide. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we all know the reason why this is coming out, because you have Bondi the Clown, who sat there and said, hey, you know what? I have the Epstein files on my desk, but I'll release them as, I'm going through them. I'm going to release them. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, about 2.5 weeks ago, the Department of Justice says, oh, by the way, there is no Epstein list. And then you have old Orange 47 coming out saying that, oh, by the way, not only is this is nothing more than a Democrat hoax. It's a hoax. The list, the Epstein stuff, we're still talking about that. It's a hoax. And if my supporters still believe in that, I don't want their support. Basically blowing up his entire MAGA base in the process. So, of course, you have this coming out, trying to distract from those Epstein files being released, which we will get to in a few moments, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get it twisted. We are going to get there. But let's just keep going through this. Civil rights leader Al Sharpton said the disclosure of King's files was a desperate attempt to distract from the firestorm engulfing Trump over the Epstein files and the public unraveling of his credibility. And that's true. It's crazy when you find I'm the one now agreeing with old Reverend Al. If you would have sat there and said, oh, hey, Sam, guess what? You're going to be agreeing with Al Sharpton, I would not have seen that on my bingo card. But look at us. Here we are now. And I'm saying that Al Sharpton is absolutely right. King Jr.'s 2 living children, Martin III and Bernice, who were notified ahead of time about the release, said in a statement on Monday, we ask those who engage with the release of these files to do so with empathy, with restraint, and respect for our family's continuing grief. Continuing grief? The dude was killed back in 1968. You know what that was? That was 4 years before the last time we went to the moon. During our father's lifetime, he was relentlessly targeted by an invasive, predatory, and deeply disturbing disinformation and surveillance campaign orchestrated by J. Edgar Hoover through the FBI. The release of these files must be viewed within their full historical context. What context? What are you talking about? The statement said the government's surveillance had denied King the dignity and freedoms of private citizens. What do you mean private citizens? He was a public figure. If he's a public figure, then we need to know every damn thing about him as far as I'm concerned. The family also cited a jury verdict in 1999 wrongful death civil lawsuit that found the civil rights leader was the victim of not a lone racist gunman, but of a vast conspiracy. In January, Trump ordered the documents from the assassinations of King and President John F. Kennedy to be declassified, along with the assassination records of Robert F. Kennedy. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence said in a press release on Monday that the King files had sat collecting dust in facilities across the federal government for decades until today. The documents include internal FBI memos, never before seen CIA records behind the hunt for King's assassin. The release was coordinated with the FBI, the DOJ, and the National Archives and the CIA. American people deserve answers decades after the horrific assassination of one of our nation's greatest leader. Said who? Well, of course, Bondi the Clown. Well, let me ask you, Bondi, what about the Epstein files? How about those? Are you gonna release those? Because really, that's what everybody's wondering about. But of course, as we sit there and we think about this, I have to pull up old Drudge. Are you familiar with the Drudge Report? I remember years ago, people said that Drudge was this conservative hack just because he was the guy that brought out the Monica Lewinsky scandal when Newsweek decided to bury the story. But I wanted to bring this up because this is just absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. My gosh. Oh, can you expand it back out again? Expand it back. Well, there's, of course, there's that picture. But what does it say underneath of it? What does it say underneath? It says, the House is shutting until September to block the Epstein vote. Now, we talked about this last night because the interesting thing is that now we have the House, the Speaker of the House, who has egg on his face and is now saying, oh, by the way, we're going to call a recess. The recess doesn't even start until next week, but they're shutting it down this week so that there's not even a vote on the Epstein files. Is he holding his nuts? Is what Casual says. It's like an episode of Pawn Stars. I know you want the Epstein files, but best I can do is $5 in the King files. That's good. That's good. Shout out to James Robinson. I see him there in the chat as well. Tip of the cap to you, sir. We have over 40 people here watching right now, currently across all social media channels. Make sure you text the number 127 to 804-430-5505 every day until August the 3rd to be a part of broadcast history. Well, how about news history, huh? So we have this house. You can't make this up. The House is shutting until September to block the Epstein vote. Absolutely ridiculous. I believe that we do have another article coming in here in just a few moments. I think this one is going to come from us to what? From the New York Post. Let me see here. Is this working? And tip of the cap to our producer in the back, getting all of this done on the fly. I believe this is the right one. Is it? Is this the one from the New York Post? I believe. Yes. Okay, it is. All right. So let me see here. Let's get this back. Shout out to Seafrost. Hey, and shout out to Germ too. How about that? Okay, look at this. House Oversight Committee to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell for testimony. The powerful GOP-led House Oversight Committee will seek to subpoena convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell for testimony about the Jeffrey Epstein case as expeditiously as possible, a spokesman confirmed Tuesday. Representative Tim Burchett had requested Chairman James Comer to summon the imprisoned British socialite for testimony. Comer instead asked Burchett to introduce a formal motion, which the panel approved by voice vote. Since Miss Maxwell is in federal prison, the committee will work with the Department of Justice and Bureau of Prisons to identify a date when the committee can depose her. Despite demands from lawmakers on both parties, House GOP leadership has far stymied efforts to compel the release of additional information about the convicted pedophile who was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell August 10th of 2019. Earlier Tuesday, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced that he had reached out to Maxwell's legal team and intends to meet with her in the coming days to hear what she has to say. Now, remember, Todd Blanche, wasn't he also Trump's guy as well? I believe that is the case. Maxwell attorney later confirmed that there had been talks with the Justice Department. Former Epstein attorney Alan Dershowitz has claimed that Maxwell knows everything about Epstein's perverted crimes, describing her as the Rosetta Stone of the year-long case. Epstein drama burst back on the front pages back on July 6th when the DOJ FBI memo that was leaked by Axios the day before it was released to the public that concluded the 66-year-old financier killed himself in a lockup and did not have a client list of powerful friends who partook in the debased crimes against young girls, contrary to widespread speculation. Like I was saying earlier, the president, old Orange 47, has blasted the controversy as a hoax, ripped a faction of his supporters who have fixated on it. But because you know the reason why? The reason why is that for the last couple of years, you've sat there and said you let it all come out. You had Kash Patel saying that he was going to release it. Bondi the Clown saying he was going to release it. Before Bondi the Clown, it was Matt Gaetz. Who else ran on it? J.D. Vance? He said it as well himself. All these people, they went on podcast after podcast after podcast, and they sat there and said, oh, we're going to be transparent. And what do they do? They sit there and they look at you right in the face and think that you're stupid. And people are going to want to say, oh, well, you're listening to a media puppet. How about a real award-winning media puppet, huh? The only media puppet that's telling you the truth. The only media puppet that's not only a real media puppet that is not bought and paid for by corporate interest. I'm able to sit up here and tell you the truth because nobody owns me. I'm not owned and bought and paid for. Don't plan to be either. Now, if somebody want to use me for advertising, I'm all open for that. I mean, the highest bidder, right? I mean, there's no problem with that. I mean, I'll go shill some, some dish soap or something like that. It doesn't bother me one bit. But I won't be a sellout of the news and the information and giving all of you the facts. Listen, I'm not here to sugarcoat things. Every other media personality that you see is going to sit there and have some sort of agenda because the producers and the program directors and everybody else sits there and tells them what they can and cannot say. But nobody's going to be able to tell me what I can and cannot say. I say whatever the hell I want. We're not going to play any political games with this, said House Speaker Mike Johnson, who told reporters Tuesday. We want any individual who's been involved in any way in the Epstein evils to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. Well, then why the hell are you sitting there putting things on recess, Mr. Speaker? Why are you covering for the president when you know damn well that there's something on this list that nobody wants to see? And I heard somebody today, listen, I was talking to somebody off record, and they said, well, the reason why they can't sit there and release the list is because there's underage girls on the list. Well, you know what? They're not underage anymore. And if you want to sit there and release it, then just redact their names. But let us know who the hell these people are of influence and affluence that were actually committing the damn crimes. I don't want to hear about Ghislaine Maxwell trafficking. I want to hear about the guys who were sitting there and actually doing the deed. I don't need to know the names of the girls and if they were underage. I don't care about that, and neither does anybody else. What we do care about is finding out who these people of influence and affluence are, why they get to sit there and just chuckle house and laugh in everyone's faces as the government looks at us and says, oh, by the way, there is no client list and it's just a hoax. DFS says preach. Amen and amen. I'll pass around the plate in a few moments. On Monday evening, Republicans recessed a House Rules Committee meeting after Democrats were poised to force a vote releasing the Epstein files. Because the Rule Committee serves as a gatekeeper for most types of legislation that come up for a vote on the House floor, GOP leadership has effectively been stalled from taking up other bills they intended to get to before the August recess. So on Tuesday, House GOP leadership announced that no further votes would be held after Wednesday afternoon. They're not even going on recess until next week, but what they're doing is they're stopping every other vote so that way they don't have to deal with it until they come back in September. So a whole damn narrative can sit there and be made by the administration, and they can make it look like and say whatever the hell they wanted to. I cannot believe this, ladies and gentlemen. And people for the longest time used to sit there and say that I was some sort of Republican hack. I can't believe that. Me, a Republican hack? I have no loss for the Rethuglicans, just like I have no love loss for the Democrats. I could care less about both of them because they're both bought and paid for by the same interest. And if you want to sit there and say that they're not, then listen, I got some snake oil to sell you. Last week, the Trump administration asked a federal judge to sign off on releasing grand jury testimony in the case against both Epstein and Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year sentence after being convicted of child sex trafficking and conspiracy with absolutely and to absolutely no one. But then what do we have? Well, we have our favorite clown, right? Old Bondi the clown. You know, I've been seeing online how it seems that the president might be upset with old Bondi the clown. Something's awry. Something's amiss. But we have Bondi the clown now because, you know what? She's pretty close. Did you ever used to watch The Apprentice? You used to watch The Apprentice, and what would happen? Trump would say, what? You fired. You're fired. And you know what? Old Bondi the clown is close to being fired because why? Because they can't shake this. Now you have the House that is sitting there saying, oh, by the way, we're not going to do any more votes on anything because this Epstein thing is getting out of control. You're damn right it's getting out of control. Let's see here. Do we have, I think we do have this here. Give me just 1 second here. Let's see. Boom. There we go. Listen, you can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot make this up. Old Bonnie the Clown pleads for Ghislaine Maxwell to bail her out of the Epstein crisis. Well, of course she does. I mean, that makes total sense. Old Bonnie the Clown has sought an urgent meeting with convicted sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell in another bid to quell the political firestorm over the Epstein files. 2 weeks after issuing a memo telling everybody that it was a damn hoax, with no further incriminating evidence regarding the crimes or the death of old Epstein, old Bonnie the Clown's department has reached out to Maxwell, who was his girlfriend and accomplice, hoping that she may spill the beans, right? Orange 47 has told us to release all credible evidence. If Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and DOJ will hear what she has to say. That's what Todd Blanche said, right? Therefore, at the direction of Bonnie the Clown, I have communicated with counsel for Miss Maxwell to determine whether she will be willing to speak with prosecutors from the department. I am anticipating meeting with Miss Maxwell in the coming days. Well, hey, that's great that you're meeting with Miss Maxwell in the next coming days, because you know what's not going to happen? Nothing's going to happen with the House because they're going on recess. In fact, they're going on recess a week before they actually go on recess. Absolutely insane. Ridiculous. Let me see if I can pull this up some more. Hang on. Let me see here. Okay, there you go. Maxwell, the 63-year-old, had been urging the Supreme Court to review her case, but the Department of Justice has asked the court to turn away her appeal just over a week ago. Why would they do that? Now it is seeking a meeting with her as the Trump administrations continue to face MAGA backlash over the handling of the case. Well, of course they are. And you know what? Everybody and their mom should be upset about this because they think that you're damn fools. I know that the media is not going to tell you that, but I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that over and over and over again. You are a damn fool. You are a damn fool. You are a damn fool. And I'm not saying that you are. I'm telling you that's what they think you are. And here they look at you with a stone cold face and sit there and says, there's no client list. Well, if there's no client list, then why the hell is she in prison? Nobody cares about the person trafficking. We all care about, like I said just a few moments ago, the person actually doing the deeds. And don't give me this crap about, oh, there's underage girls on there, so that's why they can't release it. That's hogwash. Absolutely insane. Like I said, they think you're stupid. But hey, look, you know what? I got another article coming here in just a few moments. And this one goes back to the reason why old Colbert has his panties in a bunch. Even though he was making $50 million a year, this clown ends up having 5 or 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 writers, has a $50 million salary, and then wants to sit there and said that he was #1 in late night. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Gutfeld on Fox on a cable show has been having numbers that are better than his for months now, almost probably over a year. But they don't want to sit there and talk about that because it's a cable show, so that doesn't count. Listen, when a cable show is pulling in more numbers than you as a network show, bub, it's time to get the hell off the screen. Over 50 people watching across all social media channels at Sam Newsman all over social media. Also being broadcast on Exertus' channels. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Make sure if you get a moment, just text 127 to 804-430-5505. That's 127 to 804-430-5505 every single day until August the 3rd. You'll be a part of broadcast history as we continue to make our march to becoming the best local morning radio show in all of Central Virginia, brought to you by the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Now, this is really interesting here. Trump scores a $36 million big win settlement with CBS over the edited Kamala Harris video. Now, this was very interesting because you had all of these journalists that were sitting there going on record saying that, oh, you know what? Oh, Trump is going after the media and the media is in trouble because Trump's going after. Listen, when you start editing interviews to make people look better than they actually are, to make them look like they're smarter and more coherent than they are. I mean, here are the facts. They edited Kamala's interview. There's nothing, listen, there's nothing you can say about that. You can sit there all day long and sit there and whine, bitch and moan saying that, oh my gosh, you know what? They're coming after the media. They're coming after the media. No, they're not. They sat there and they got called out. And of all places, it was 60 Minutes. That was supposed to be this beacon of journalism. 60 Minutes. Oh, my gosh. 60 Minutes is what? It's an institution of the media. Good grief. Give me a break. Trump said that Paramount, CBS 60 Minutes paid $16 million in the settlement and anticipated an additional $20 million from the new owners of CBS in advertising, PSAs, or similar programming. This is another in a long line of victories over the fake news media, who we were all holding to account for their widespread fraud and deceit. The Wall Street Journal, the failing New York Times, the Washington Post, MSDNC, CNN, and all the other mainstream media liars are on notice that the days of them being allowed to deceive the American public are over. Oh, and by the way, if anybody believes in the Epstein things and you're my supporters, I don't want you to be my supporters anymore. I can't believe that you still believe that's a Democrat hoax. Good grief. Trump famously protested the 60 Minutes interview of Harris with host Bill Whitaker after it was revealed that one of the vice president's lengthy spiraling answers on Israel was edited for the public broadcast. In protest, he filed a $20 billion lawsuit to challenge CBS and 60 Minutes, arguing that the show's producers purposefully edited the interview to make Harris look better and sway the presidential election. Well, they did edit it. I mean, he's right about that. Say what you want to about him and the Epstein files, but we can at least say that he was spot on with that. Oh, now you're taking up for Trump. Oh my gosh, you're a Trump hack puppet. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth. CBS argued that their edits were part of the normal editorial process. Well, listen, it might, you might be able to edit interviews, and there's sometimes times where you have to edit it, but when you edit it and splice it together, making it look like it's all one big rant, like she didn't skip a beat. That's deception, CBS. That's deception, public. So the president was absolutely correct on this one. Hell, he might be wrong about the whole Epstein files because it's like egg on his face at the moment. But at least he was right about this. So say what you want to about the Epstein files. He did call out CBS and the institution known as 60 Minutes for basically lying to the public. After Trump won the election and became president, the FCC Communications, the Federal Communications Commission ordered for the original video and transcripts to be made public. So they knew out of the gate that there was something wrong with this. The unearthed version of the interview showed that CBS only aired 20 minutes of Kamala Harris talking of the total 60 minutes that were actually filmed. So think about that for a moment. There was only 20 minutes that were broadcasted. But the whole interview is actually 60 minutes of itself. So 60 Minutes had 60 minutes of Kamala Harris, and they only broadcasted 20. Editing it, splicing it together, making it sound all nice and proper and like all buttoned up. So you know what? You're damn right. Look, the unedited footage opens up with the former vice president sneezing as she explains she's allergic to mold. In other places, Harris gave rambling answers on why she should be president, foreign policy, and Trump, all which were nixed by CBS. The interview has been nominated for an Emmy this year for Outstanding Edited Interview. That's actually an award. Hey, look, here's an award for Best Fake Interview, an edited interview. Give me a break. Paramount, CBS, and 60 Minutes settled the president's lawsuit out of court rather than go to trial. You know, I bet they did. News of the settlement is expected to grease the wheels for FCC approval of the proposed merger. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, you can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. I know that you'll probably sit there and see other news media out there. They're not going to give you the truth the way that this media puppet does. Profit Director, shout out to Profit Director. He said that interview fell out of a coconut tree. Oh my gosh, good grief. Absolutely ridiculous. But hey, you know what? We got other news. I'm glad that our tax dollars are being used for something. And you know what that is? That the military says it will continuously monitor bathrooms to comply with anti-trans order. Now, that's something to talk about, right? Pete Hegseth, SecDef Hegseth, who, by the way, is losing aides left and right. I think a 6th aide has left in the last couple of months. But anyways, the SecDef Hegseth's Department of Defense sent a White House an 11-page memo about the steps it has taken to comply with Trump's anti-trans executive order, according to a copy of the memo obtained by 404 Media using the Freedom of Information Act. Among dozens of other actions, the Pentagon said that it not only changed the signs on bathroom doors to reflect biological sex, well, that's good, but then it'll continue to monitor inmate spaces to ensure ongoing compliance, and that it will continuously evaluate and update inmate spaces as necessary. The military has ordered a review hold on questionable content at Stars and Stripes, the military's newspaper, which is supposed to be editorially dependent from the Pentagon, which is not supposed to be censored by the DOD. Trump's Defending Women executive order, which was an across-the-board war on trans and non-binary people inside the federal government, required agencies to delete websites and resources referencing trans, non-binary people and eliminate diversity and inclusion programs, kill grants and funding for gender exclusivity programs and research, eliminate gender-exclusive bathrooms, and take on a host of other anti-trans policies. As part of the executive order, agencies were required to file a memo with the White House outlining the steps it had taken to comply with the order. So far, 404 Media has seen memos for 11 different agencies. A vast majority of these memos are 1 or 2 pages long, are very generic. Hegseth's memo is 11 pages long and includes 3 different exhibits that takes the entire document to 19 pages long. The Pentagon memo is far more extensive than any other that we've seen so far and includes details about employees that the Pentagon put on administrative leave because it believed that their jobs were promoting or including gender ideology. The Pentagon said it identified 69 people who believed had jobs that fit this description and put them on leave. but then determined that actually their jobs were not primarily about promoting or inculcating gender ideology, and returned 67 of them back to their jobs. The Pentagon said it also stopped all social media posts from all its accounts for 10 days at all levels of the department in order to prepare for reorientation of content on platforms. A review hold to ensure that content complies with an executive order from the president is a form of prior restraint and review. It is unclear what the results of that review hold were or whether Stars and Stripes was working on anything that the Pentagon would have wanted held. By the way, Stars and Stripes did not respond to a request for comment. Absolutely ridiculous. Listen, you can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot make this up. But what can you do? Well, there's 60 people right now watching over all social media channels. What you can do is you can be a part of broadcast history. How do you do that? By texting 127 to 804-430-5505. That's 127 to 804-430-5505. Now, I believe that we had two more articles, but let's skip over the one about, the last car that was $20,000. They're no longer making that. So if you want to get a new car, it's going to cost you over 20 grand because the Nissan sedan that they were making that was 20,000 or less, no longer able to make that. And while that might be sad, this is what's really sad. And this is the one that's going to hurt everybody the most. And finally, Hershey lifts candy prices, citing high cocoa cost. Chocolate maker notifies retail customers of double-digit percentage increase. Cocoa markets stay high on supply concerns. Hershey has previously said it would raise prices to compensate for escalating cocoa cost. Inflation isn't finished with your chocolate bar. Hershey is raising its prices on its candy, a company official said, in response to continued high cocoa cost. But ladies and gentlemen, it's not just cocoa that is rising. One of the other things that's rising is beef prices. Beef prices are going through the roof. In fact, what did I see? I think I saw where beef prices are going up. Beef is now the new eggs, ladies and gentlemen. They are the new eggs. So as you go to the grocery store, and while you are complaining about egg prices and how you get a dozen eggs for about $9, now you have to worry about beef. Beef. It's what's not for dinner. Why? Because it's too damn expensive. Memory Man says Hershey is crap anyways. Must be a Cadbury guy. But not the American Cadbury. There's a big difference, right? If you're familiar with Cadbury, there's Cadbury here in America, and then there's the real Cadbury over across the pond. Real Cadbury is delicious. And so are Cadbury eggs. But those are made here in America. They're not made over across the pond. They might have Cadbury eggs across the pond. Who knows? But if they do, it's probably made with real chocolate. None of that fake chocolate that you see a lot. But you know what? Hey, you know what? We might actually have candy bars that taste like real chocolate again, right? Because old Maha is coming around, and they're getting all the ridiculous ingredients out of candy, out of cereal, out of soda. Although I did see where Coca-Cola might still keep continuing using high fructose corn syrup. That should just show you why that Pepsi is better. You know that old story where Coca-Cola could have bought Pepsi? I think that when Pepsi was at a very low price, it might have been in the 1930s, I guess. 1930s or something like that. I believe it was around that time. Coca-Cola had the option to buy Pepsi. But Coca-Cola decided they weren't going to do it. Why? Because they said at the time it was not a good investment. Yep. No, it's true. It is true. Oh, look, I got a couple of people here talking about eggs. So Profit Director says that eggs in Chicago for $2.80 this week. DFS is, and that's in Chicago. DFS, who's out in California, says that 18 are going for $4.29 here. So it looks like egg prices are stabilizing, going back down where they should, which that's good. That's good to hear. So shout out to everyone else out there that's able to get eggs again. It's not breaking their wallet. But I guess what you need to tell me now is how much beef is. So the next time you guys go to the store, let me know how much some hamburger is. And give me the good hamburger too. The 8, not the 80-20 stuff. I want to know this the 92-8. Where's it, or 93-7 or whatever it is. The good stuff. DFS says used to ring up a Hot Wheels instead of an egg carton. Yeah, the Hot Wheels was a better price. It was a better investment. You could then probably flip the Hot Wheels and then buy yourself two dozen eggs, right? Dull and Tired says repeal the 19th. That's amendment, by the way. But one of the things you guys need to do, as we're worried about the 19th Amendment being repealed, what you need to do is you need to text 127 to 804-430-5505. That's 127 to 804-430-5505. Hang on 1 second here. Let's get over here. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Stop women's suffrage. That's an update for all of you that when he's talking about repealing the 19th Amendment, that's the amendment for the women's right to vote. Listen, I'm not saying that you need to repeal women. He said, make marriage valuable again. You guys in the chat are ridiculous. Oh my gosh. This broadcast does not condone the repealing of the 19th Amendment. At least not yet. I mean, I haven't. Now what's going to happen? Somebody's going to clip this and sit there and say, oh, you hear what Sam said? Sam said that you should repeal the 19th Amendment. No, I'm just reading the damn chat. Pilgrim Society says, tell that to Sophia. Votes for women. Votes for women. What you need to have is votes for Sam Newsman. How do you do that? 127 to 804-430-5505. That's 804-430-5505. Text 127. It's right down there at the bottom of the screen. You want to do that every single day between now and August the 3rd. And you can be a part of broadcast history. Another thing you can do is you can go to this website, go.richmond.com/thebest. Go.richmond.com/thebest. You want to scroll down there and click on entertainment. Once you click on entertainment, you're going to scroll down, go to Best Local Morning Radio Show. Click on that. And then you'll see my name, Sam Newsman, WDCE. You want to click on that. And like I said, you will have to use some information, fill this out, but you can vote one time doing it with your email. You can also vote one time using your cell phone. You want to grab every single cell phone in your house. Grab all of the cell phones from the people that you work with. Tell all of them that they can be a part of broadcast history by doing what? By voting for little old me for Best Local Morning Radio Show, brought to you by the Richmond Times-Dispatch. So Profit Director says, weren't the green people in Britain killing cows because they farted too much? DFS saying they probably killed minks for COVID. Absolutely. Absolutely. Over 70 people watching now on all social media channels. That's at Sam Newsman. All over social media is where you're going to find me. That's at Sam Newsman. All over social media is where you will find me. Now I forgot yesterday to give a tip of the cap to my wonderful producer. Got to bring Jordan here online. Jordan, are you there?
Hey, Sam. I'm here.
Hey, all right. Listen, I'm so sorry about last night. I was just ranting and raving and just going all off on this whole Epstein nonsense, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I do want to give you a shout out. Thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing here on the post. So how much are eggs where you are?
I mean, it depends on where you go, but on average, I think I'd say maybe for a dozen, you're looking at give or take $4 Canadian.
Gotcha. I see Raw Talk Real Deal in the chat. He's saying it's $7.89. I believe he's up, I believe in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. Pilgrim Society says it's $5 there. I know here in Virginia, last time I got eggs, I think I got 18 for $12. But now those are the fancy type. You know, the brown eggs, not the bleached white yellow eggs. Beef is $10 a pound down in Georgia, says Casual. So have you been noticing the beef prices rising where you are? Do you eat beef or are you a vegetarian?
Myself, no, I eat meat. I don't eat too much beef though, so I'm not aware of the beef prices going up anytime recently. But yeah.
Well, anyways, just want to give you a tip of the cap. Thanks so much for doing all the work that you're doing. Where can people find you? You have your own podcast and you do a lot of stuff online yourself. Where can they find you?
So I'm on Twitter, and the YouTube channel is Divulgence Podcast. Twitter is at DivulgencePod. And if you want to email me, you could reach me at divulgencepod@gmail.com. But yeah, thanks for having me, Sam. And just a reminder to everyone, text 127 to that number, and let's achieve the goal of broadcast history.
Here. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being a part of the show. 5-Leaf Clover says, I mean succeeds. Whatever that means, I'm not sure. But shout out to 5-Leaf Clover, which must be more luckier than a 4-leaf clover. Pilgrim Society says McDonald's is a good value, but it is human meat. I believe that, what is it? Rabbi Finkelstein said that. But of course, if I say that, now people are going to say, oh, there you go again, Sam. You're the anti-Semitic puppet. No, I'm not. I'm just, oh my gosh. I can't even win. I can't even win. It's just a joke. Just a joke. Well, I don't know. I'm not sitting there eating McDonald's meat. So it's, it's not. So I can't really tell you. I can't tell you whether or not, Rabbi Finkelstein is right or not. Is that even real? That's a meme, right? It's one of those anti-Semitic tropes. Like the, the prodigals of the elders of Zion? Something like that. Oh, yeah, and Israel's the bad guy. Yeah, that's right. Israel's the bad guy, and Jews run the world. Absolutely ridiculous. You know who runs the world? All those people that are on the damn Epstein list that's not ever going to come out in public. Why? Because it's nothing more than a hoax. Nothing more than a hoax. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude our broadcast for tonight. Now, I do have a special announcement that, so we do this every single night. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll be talking about the news. But Thursday, I will have a couple of special guests where we're going to be talking about, what is it? Well, I thought we'd have the hat on, but I guess we don't have the hat, right? So we don't have the hat. But we will have a couple of people on talking about action figures, toy photography. We're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday. Pump the brakes on the news and talk a little bit about action figures, toys photography with a couple of good friends. So I'll give them a shout out tomorrow. Maybe we'll find that hat, right? So we'll have the hat. Oh, there you go. Toy Mercs. All right, so it's going to be Toy Mercs and also Skydro Walker. There you go. I just let the cat out of the bag. You know, that's right. Spoiler alert. Toy Mercs, because we are all Toy Mercs. Make sure you go to Legion's magazine, by the way. You can pre-order the new second issue of Toy Mercs magazine. Or Legion's magazine, excuse me, the official magazine of Toy Mercs. So, but that will, someone says, bring back the McRib. Is that human meat too? So it might be your grandma's rib. So Toy Mercs. So I'm sorry. Yes, it's going to be Dead Man. It's going to be Skydro. Sorry, Dead Man. So I saw Toy Mercs. I got confused. So anyways, it will be Dead Man. It will be Dead Man and Skydro. Well, Dead Man is going to be talking about Toy Mercs. So excuse me. Make sure that I get that all right. I'm just wondering, where's the hat? Do we have the hat? The hat somewhere. It's being protected from the cat. Okay, so that's where it is. So anyway, so yes, it'll be Dead Man 1, and we'll be talking about Toy Mercs magazine. We're also going to be talking about toy photography, the creator, all of this creative stuff that is happening in toy, pop culture, all that fun stuff. But yeah, Dead Man 1 and also Skydro Walker. Remember, you can use the code Skydro, that's SKYDRO, at extremesets.com. Extreme Sets being a place where you can buy dioramas for your action figures and toys. So you can take pretty pictures and all of that stuff. But that'll be Thursday. So shout out to Dead Man. Shout out to Skydro Walker. Shout out to Toy Mercs. Go to legionsmagazine.com. Make sure you get your pre-order in. And there'll be a big announcement on Thursday as well. A big old giveaway. So you definitely want to be a part of that. If you like action figures, you like toys, you're going to want to be here on Thursday because there's a big announcement for a giveaway that's coming up here pretty soon. So that will be exciting. Like I said, we do politics and news every single night, but sometimes you just need to take a little break. We're going to take a little break this Thursday. And next week, we have a couple of friends who are going to San Diego Comic-Con, and they'll be coming on next week telling us all about their experience over at San Diego Comic-Con and probably trolling me because I've actually asked them for requests for them to buy some of those Comic-Con exclusives from a company that they vehemently hate. That's what we call a tease in the business, by the way. So a profit director is right. He says if we're all Toy Mercs, then technically Sam wasn't wrong in saying Toy Mercs would be on, right? That's a good point, Prophet. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's exactly right. So anyway, 77 people watching now currently across all social media feeds. Follow me at Sam Newsman. That's at Sam Newsman all over social media. What you want to do is you want to text 127 to 804-430-5505. That's 804-430-5505 every single day between now and August the 3rd, and you will be a part of broadcast history. Once again, setting the standard and raising the bar, the only way a real award-winning media puppet knows how to do. And no, Pilgrim Society, I am not AI. I'm not AI. Although I do see that, you remember people coming up there and talking about I saw those filters a while back. Everybody was, there's always some kind of AI trend that is happening. One of those AI trends was everybody was doing the whole puppet filter thing or the Muppet filter thing. Listen, I was trying to end the show, and then all of a sudden Pilgrim gets me off on a rant. And then I saw somebody, was it the Higher Side chat, sitting there saying, oh, well, if puppets, guess what? If you're a puppet, then you know what? AI is coming for your job. I can tell you this right now. AI is not coming for my job. Hell, I'm the only real media puppet doing this in all of media. And the only real media puppet that any of you guys even trust. Why? Because I continue to keep setting the standard and raising the bar as we march our way to broadcast history by texting 127 2804 430 5505. That's 127 2804 430 5505 to hack the planet and for you to be a part of broadcast history. And with that, we'll close the show as we always do with a little jingle. Because that Game of Thrones is what they play. A house of cards just day by day. Voters losing every way. It's just like I always say. It's sideshow infotainment. Politicians and news anchors. And talking points that make my eardrums bleed. Oh, that Donald Trump's got quite the past. With Epstein's files all up his ass. It's all a hoax. Oh, he says so fast. But the ruling elite just keeps laughing last. Oh, it's sideshow infotainment. Politicians and news anchors. And talking points that make my eardrums bleed. The most trusted puppet in media is me. Reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam, Newsman.